Coming to you live from the swamp of Florida, where our air conditioning has been on the kaput ever since the hurricane blew through, and currently no air conditioning. So if you see
Ooh.
that beautiful shine, it is because I'm doing some passive sweating to detox and waiting for the AC repairman to show up. But the show
Mm.
must go on. Bill, the one
Yep.
show that's not going to go on anymore is CNN's opinion section. And a lot of the critics have been talking about this because they wonder, does that mean CNN is shutting down entirely? Because CNN pretty much laces opinion, it seems, into quite a bit of its reporting.
Mhm.
There are other theories. Are they doing this and then they're just going to speckle the reporting with even more opinion, and so they're not going to be labeling it anymore? Or is it as simple as just a cost cutting mechanism? They don't want to pay extra people. They don't feel like it's necessary. We know CNN has a considerable amount of debt and the views are down, and they're competing with digital audiences now like us.
Mhm.
Give me your first takeaway when you heard this. Were you surprised about it?
Not at all. I mean, what was it? I think it was just last year, maybe a little more than a year, where they shut down CNN Plus and they cut a bunch of jobs and a bunch of folks. I think Jamel Hill and her partner Carrie Champion, their show was one of them. And then the guy who came over from Fox News, who'd been there for 20 years, Britt Hume, or the other guy, I can't remember his name. He came over to CNN Plus and he got canned because they got rid of CNN Plus. Guys, if you knew the amount of debt that CNN and Turner has gotten into, it's pretty bad. I mean,
Well, Warner Brothers Discovery has a debt of $43 billion. So
mm,
that's the parent company. It's a lot of money.
right. Oh yeah,
Not as much debt as the US government,
no,
but
nowhere near close. But yeah, they're. I think it's more of a cost cutting measure than anything else. I truly believe that, and they're fighting tooth and nail to just stay alive. I mean, Fox News, their lawsuit where they're going to have to pay out like 300 million or whatever it is, and they're still nowhere near as in much debt as CNN is. So I think these are cost cutting measures, and but also like you said, they already have opinion shows. So why does this even need to be a thing?
hmm. That's kind of an interesting question. Yeah, why did they have an opinion section at all?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They're doing a digital version of what they do on television. A lot of their anchors seem like they're very free range, I guess, about inserting their opinion into a lot of stuff. So when it comes to the TV section or the TV broadcasting news, it really doesn't seem like there is a line between reporting and opinion, as there isn't really a line on many of the cable outlets. It's just all over the place. So it's interesting, in the digital world they had an opinion section. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's just an outdated term for them. They just were like, hey, let's just get rid of this. It's all opinion anyway. We're putting on a big show. This is dumb.
Right.
You may be celebrating the demise of CNN, or you're one of the CNN employees. Maybe you can't afford wine now, but if you can and you're mourning your job, you can support my show. And maybe by doing so, I'll have a job for you at some point. AlisonWinePromo.com is the way to go. We have some amazing wines in this quarter. All right. We are getting wines from all over the most amazing landscapes. These come from very remote regions, from operations that produce wine the way their families have for hundreds of years. Handpicked grapes, natural fermentation, all kinds of amazing stuff. You'll get to hear about all the stories behind them. It's not just wine with a story that's made from people who have an amazing story to tell. It comes with the story of supporting my show. They've been with me almost from the very beginning, and they have stuck with me through some very challenging times. They've never told me what to say or what I can do on the show. And so if you are a wine drinker and you're also a proponent of free speech and hearing different ideas, then go get this wine, because it continues your ability to hear those voices. AlisonWinePromo.com. It's a wine club now. So you're going to get 6 bottles of wine every 3 months. You'll always have a gift for people, a bottle of wine to show up at the cocktail party you really didn't want to go to anyway. It's just a great thing to have on hand. You'll never be empty-handed with a gift, and you'll be able to tell people what the story behind the wine is. Okay, AlisonWinePromo.com. Let's show a video that one of my local supporters sent. You can always join the editorial board on Locals. It's a great way to support the show. And also by just sending me some mail. P.O. Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. Woo! It is getting so hot in here. I'm about to sweat to the oldies, man. All right, let's go. I'm not trying to say this guy's old. I'm not going to sweat to the oldies. I don't know. Bill's got the same haircut as this guy, and Bill's pretty young. So let me just show you what he has to say, and let's opine after that.
A cynic might suspect that this move by CNN likely means that they simply are going to continue pushing their so-called news without labeling it opinion, and they'll continue to promote their news content as being a different animal from their former opinions section. Quote, a senior executive at the network confirmed the decision to The Hill. We did make the decision at the beginning of the month to sunset the opinion vertical on CNN.com. As a result, we will no longer have a standalone opinion section, the executive said, pointing to a more detailed report on Substack by Claire Atkinson. That report indicated staff on the opinion desk were notified last month that they were being let go on August 9th as part of a wider cost-cutting measure, CEO Mark Thompson announced. End quote. At her Substack, Ms. Atkinson has written at least twice about the CNN cuts, noting on July 10th, quote, CNN chief Mark Thompson unveiled his new strategy today at Hudson Yards and is axing 100 positions as part of the newsroom rethink and a push into AI. CNN will move.
Okay, I wanted to stop right there because I wanted to talk about the role of AI and what artificial intelligence will have, as they're saying it will help with cutting costs and paying off their debt. Bill, let's just give an overview, I guess, of your opinion. Once again, we've talked about this many times, but AI in newsrooms, good, bad, both? Depends on how it's used.
Yeah, it really just depends on how it's used. You and I don't want to say we broke the news, but we were the first ones that I can remember that talked about when in 2018, China had virtual AI news anchors. And it's no different than, just being able to type in a few phrases on your keyboard. It just depends on who's behind it, because in my line of work in IT, AI is obviously the big thing right now, and we have some concerns. And AI it's unavoidable. I'm not saying it's global thermonuclear apocalypse or anything like that. The Terminators aren't going to rise. But I do feel that it's coming down the line, and there's not going to be any way you can stop it, because once you pay for this AI subscription service, which let's just say, for example, is $1,000 a year, that's a lot less than paying your local news anchor, let's say in Nashville, Tennessee, $75,000 a year. And you just need somebody to type in what they say, or tell them what to say. It's all about who's behind the curtain pulling the strings. It really is. I think AI is a great advance, and it's got its place in news, but also, you still have to tell AI what to do or ask AI to generate it for you. So it really just depends on who's pulling those strings.
I think I would be less concerned about AI if I found the majority of journalists to be more critically aware of the biases put into a lot of these sources that feed AI. And if you look at the CDC and you totally trust everything they say, and the CDC is what the AI is using, for instance, on medical news or understanding medical misinformation, and you're not someone who understands how the CDC works, and you don't know the other ideas and opinions outside the CDC, and you just take it for what it is at face value. So at the end of the day, I guess my concern isn't even necessarily with AI. Really, it's with the journalists themselves still.
Right.
And in some level, I don't know if there's a major difference between using AI or just recycling talking points from your national affiliate if you're a local reporter, or just taking something from Reuters or the AP. I mean, this kind of stuff, this repurposing of some other content that you didn't actually see for yourself, you didn't source for yourself, you haven't done any research about. That happens all the time in the news business. Perhaps if we knew AI was generating a lot of the news, we would all be more skeptical, because at least we know that's happening, versus now where we think there's actual eyes and brains on the topic, when in most cases there's like one or two people reporting on these actual topics, and then it goes to all the affiliates, or everybody's just copying and pasting what the newswire services said. They're filling kind of the same role that AI is filling, and the more newsrooms cut staff, and the less encouragement journalists get to be critically aware of the variety and differences of opinion on all these different topics, the worse that homogeny is going to get. On the other hand, it's coming at a time where digital media and alternative media is really exploding. So there will be a check on that. It's up to the consumer, I think, ultimately to do their research as well. So, okay, let's just listen to one more part of what this guy has to say.
End quote. Perhaps you're wondering how 3,500 people can offer such weak so-called journalism. And perhaps you're wondering why they continue to operate the charade of calling their output news. In her second July 10th post on CNN, Atkinson noted, quote, "The move is part of a wider cost-cutting measure announced this morning by CEO Mark Thompson, who unveiled a broader global restructure of CNN's content output across digital, video, and TV. The restructure comes almost a year after Thompson took charge of the network after the disastrous term of his predecessor, Chris Licht. Thompson is reviving subscription products launching later this year after Licht executed a plan to shutter an earlier CNN streaming product conceived under former leader Jeff Zucker," end quote. And that streaming product line? Well, it's not hard news. As Daya Parda recently reported for Invez, CNN's Brain Trust seems to recognize that it doesn't much appeal to people who actually want real journalism about major events. Quote, Thompson announced that CNN.com will introduce its first subscription product later this year. This initiative aims to enhance user engagement and increase visit frequency by offering high-quality lifestyle journalism, end quote. Enjoy that. Yeah. And of course, that leaves many likely wondering what will be left on CNN's news site. It's easy to suspect that CNN editors simply will continue filling their news section with slanted pieces, cherry-picked subjects that promote leftism, and interviews that are one-sided and unfair. Writes Barkukas.
Okay, so yeah, that's, I think, what a lot of the critics of all of this are saying about CNN. So it's fair to show, but CNN still stands by its journalism and just says, hey, it's not about the fact that viewers don't trust us anymore, like this guy. It's really just because there's a move towards digital journalism that's taking ad revenue away, and we just can't keep doing business as usual. We have to figure out other ways to do it. They still stand by their journalism and really have never had a mea culpa move where they admit that perhaps people are turning away from CNN because they just don't like it or trust it anymore. So what do you think about that, Bill? Do you think they really buy that themselves, or is that just a front-facing public relations message, and really they know that perhaps the product has not been so great?
I think CNN doesn't know what the hell to do at this point, because they just shut down a subscription-based service with CNN Plus. Why try it again? Even if it's like, I know CNN Plus was pushed as this big thing. Maybe their new subscription service is bite-sized pieces. Hey, subscribe to this journalist for $2.99 a month. Subscribe to this show for $3.99 a month. It doesn't matter. That is not going to work for CNN. That's part one. You just canceled a major subscription service last year. So why even try to go back into that space? Focus on what you've been doing. Sometimes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it works, it's not obsolete. So go back to journalism on the global scale that you built this brand on. But this guy, I'm going to push back a little bit on some of his opinion. Dude, CNN here lately has definitely had more of a fair and balanced approach to the way it's done its news. And Black Conservative Perspective on YouTube. That guy, he has clips on CNN all the time where conservatives and Republicans get to have these pushback and gotcha moments. And this woke person got owned on CNN. They had that shit all the time. So I don't necessarily think CNN has shifted to the right. They're definitely not Fox News, and maybe they lean a little more left of center, but it's nowhere near the liberal, mouthpiece that it was in the past. They've definitely, ever since Zucker has been outed, they've definitely taken a little bit more leaning to the middle. Not all the way there yet, but they've done better. Now, has it improved their ratings? Has it showed better numbers? No, it really hasn't. But I think whichever way they went, their numbers are going down regardless. They've got to go back to the old school way of journalism, especially attacking it on the global scale like they used to do. Just do hard news, sprinkle in some feel good stories here and there. And, here's what our reporter found out, and you decide. So
if you want to hear more from the man who we showed the video about, he is Gardner Goldsmith at MRC TV on Rumble. So just thank you, Mr. Goldsmith, for letting us share your opinion so we could talk about it. I want to bring us back over really quickly to, he was actually quoting quite a bit Claire Atkinson's articles on Substack.
Mhm.
I don't know if she's got some kind of connection internally, but she keeps saying she's breaking news about all this. One thing just I want to point out to note about this restructuring is this CNN will move to a single international multimedia news operation, according to a memo sent to staff this morning. I wonder about like what exactly this will look like. I would say it seems like it's a downsizing of international news too. So I would be very wary of trusting CNN's international reporting.
Right.
And which is interesting because they used to be kind of the name of the game in international reporting for broadcast. They had people all over the world. I'm not saying it was good. People have been skeptical and critical of their international reporting for many, many decades, but that was really a niche for them. CNN had really a niche of international journalism. They were in the war zones and places that other people were not. So it's interesting they're kind of downsizing that and deciding to go towards more lifestyle news. It's just like nobody wants to hear from them the hard stuff, so they're just going after like the clickbait. I don't know. It probably is in a lot of ways a cost-cutting mechanism, and perhaps like the people making the decisions don't necessarily they don't see that as necessarily a drop of the bar for the journalism. Perhaps they already have a low view of the journalism they're trying to do there, or perhaps they just see that as just as helpful for journalism. I don't know, but it's interesting, and I do think like the big names in journalism are facing some tough times. In a second, we're going to talk real fast by ending the show with a guy who jumped behind a reporter wearing Speedo during weather coverage very close to my house. Florida man has erupted again. If you are somebody who is considered investing in precious metals, turning your 401k or IRA into precious metals, you can do me a favor and support the show by also getting all that information that you need about that. Text Alison with 1L, ALISON to 989898. There are a lot of people who are thinking about diversifying. Like I've talked about, we have chickens now. That honestly, the fact that we're paying $10 a dozen right now for eggs, that is one way to diversify our savings by just having eggs ourselves. But if you're somebody who is looking for a physical asset that is in high demand globally, and also you have been thinking about this, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. You can diversify an old IRA or 401k for no money out of pocket and place it into an IRA in gold and silver. You will text Alison again, ALISON 989898, and you will then receive a free, no obligation info kit. Learn about the role precious metals play in your overall saving strategy. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Thousands of happy customers, been in the business for over 2 decades. So again, text Alison, ALISON to 989898.